Basketball.
It's time to strap in and get ready. The Insight NBA team is in the arena, bringing you the ultimate play-by-play on who's hot and who's not to help you win your leagues and dominate your mates. You're now hooping with your hosts, Matty G, Skitty, and Malley for the Insight NBA show.
G'day, it's Matty G and Malley here. It is Trade Stash Show. We are here for a good time and not a long time. Malley, are you just excited? Are you excited for trades? Your fantasy froth is at an all-time peak for this season?
Yeah, let's see what else is coming. I'm just excited to, see the Shams. Well, he doesn't do bombs. What does Shams do? Shams drops of some description.
Is it a Sham? Oh, there should be a name for that, shouldn't there? There's got to be someone that comes. There's got to be a name out there for a Sham. It can't be a Woj bomb because that was a Sham. A Sham stack. A Shams. There's no real good S word for like report, is there?
Sham
anyway,
alarm.
A Sham.
Shamalama ding dong.
It sounds like you're singing along to a song in the 80s. Look, we've had another one today. We're going to talk about that. Make sure you check out the emergency pod for that one. It is the De'Aaron Fox. Finally, worst kept secret in the NBA, Malley, going to your San Antonio Spurs. Just off the riff, one question. How do you feel about it?
I don't know, because it's been a while since he's had to be a real point guard, like he's been in a team where he's just slowly moved further and further away from being a point guard, like even when he was with Hallie, it was kind of up in the air of who was the point guard. It seemed to be Halliburton. And then Hallie went, and then they got in a giant, nearly 7-foot point guard. And then you think, all right, that's it. And now they pretty much turned Malik Monk into a point guard. So, he hasn't been a point guard for a long time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm shedding a bit of a tear because I've got on one team I've got Chris Paul and I've got what's his name? No, not this again. Who's my white guy? This is the trouble because there's a lot of white guys in Lakers right now. No,
on the Lakers. Austin
Yeah,
Reeves.
Reeves. Yeah, Austin Reeves. I've
Wait,
got both
the
of them
new,
on
or
one
the
team.
new one? If you say the new white guy, it's Luka. The old white guy is Austin Reeves.
True.
And no one, and Dalton Connect just standing there in the background going like, what?
Yeah, I'm custard there because, losing both those, having those guys, they're probably two of the biggest losers after the trade so far. So, not good to have them on the same team. But anyway, we digress.
Well, I also like that. We'll cover that one in the other pod. But the thing that we're not going to digress on is we are giving a bunch of our profits of the brand new line of Fantasy Hoops t-shirts to Dan Besbris over in America because his kid's school, the elementary school, burnt down in the Los Angeles fires. So I spoke to Dan about it. I was on his fundraising podcast and I was like, man, we're just going to give you we're just going to sell a bunch and give you 25% of the profits to your kid's school. And he was just touched by that. We're just going to make it happen. So just jump on the link below. Check them out. They're awesome, including my favorite. And one that Malley has, the only one in existence. And the stock just came back in on Friday of a sleeveless pink one that's exclusively only to one Matty Malley. But you can get yours limited edition drop down in the stores below. And Malley, let's take us through your stash. This is the Trade Stash Show. We've spoken about it a little bit. Let's take us through the beginning of your list of the 5 guys that are right on the top of your list.
Yeah, well, where my list starts in a bad way because this list was made more than 6 hours ago when our news came through about the big changes in Sacramento. So we were hoping that Keon Ellis would get a look in. We knew the Fox was on the move. We didn't know what was going to come back. I was hoping it wasn't going to be a guard. And now they've got a big, a high usage guard that's come back in. So his chances of being in that starting lineup are probably pretty well done. But, what he does hasn't been replaced. He's a great defensive player. You probably can't say the same about Zach LaVine. That's not really the hook that he hangs his hat on. So although I'm obviously not confident that he's going to be a massively high stash guy, I'm still not completely out of it. And whether they're done or not over there yet, it is a bit open to interpretation. But I feel like that's probably not the strongest start on my list. So we can kind of put him away for the moment now. I've obviously yeah, things aren't playing out too well for Keon. But let's see.
I love one of the next blokes that you've got on this log, Bogdan Bogdanovic. There's been something in the water with this bloke this year. He has been up, down, left, right, and all over the place. He has been consistently an excellently ranked player. He's been inside the top 150. Last year was an incredibly good season for him. He played 79 games with the Atlanta Hawks. He was excellent. This year has been down, but if he goes back to form and to somewhere, Malley, this bloke all of a sudden becomes a really hot pickup.
It's not long ago that this is a six-man candidate, like he's a really decent player.
I put money on him. I'm sorry. I'm not. I hate to cut you off. I literally was on a pod with Skiddy beginning of the year having that who starts, Bogdan Bogdanovic or Dyson Daniels in Atlanta. Yeah. And I said, if Bogdan goes back to six-man, 100%, and Atlanta plays well, dude's a six-man of the year candidate, 100%. So I'm right there with you in having those feels.
And like the Atlanta just haven't seemed interested in him this year, which is obviously a bit of a shame because we know that the potential he's got. And it seems quite likely that they're going to ship him off. They're not utilising him. And maybe he can go to a team. I don't know where, but I'd love to see him, get back to a strong, 28 minutes a game would be enough for him. We know what he does. He's a shooter, and he's a good one when he gets hot. He hit threes. He can distribute the ball a little bit. So, I'm interested to see where he goes. I hope this isn't the end for Bogdan because he seems like a good fella and he's a great fantasy basketball asset. So, I mean, he's probably floating around on your waiver wire. It's not like you have to take him from someone and then stash him. He's just going to be sitting out there. He hasn't been playing for Atlanta. So depending on what position you're in, obviously in one of my leagues now with only a few weeks to go until things start to get to the absolute pointy end of the season, I can't touch him. But then there's others where I'm fairly comfortably first, second, and maybe someone like him would be a good pickup and stash for me and just see what happens.
I agree, and I think this is a guy who has this return to form. Like, where's this guy been all year? Well, maybe there's just been something in the water in Atlanta with the change of guard over there, and literally the change of guards over there. This is a guy who the Milwaukee Bucks coveted years ago. There was the whole tampering thing. There was rumors he was going to go to the Lakers. We know they're not done yet. He goes anywhere. He is 55% owned in leagues currently, and he could be quite easily dropped, as you said, by someone because he's not getting the minutes for that one. Now, this guy is a full service experience. I loved him last year. I really had high hopes for Obi Toppin in Indiana. So they ended up bringing in Pascal Siakam during the course of the year, and he's gone the full dreadlocks and looking like just trying to go to Jamaica on his holidays. But this is why Obi Toppin is only 5% rostered, Malley. 18 points, 1 point, 7 points, 13, 4, 7. Rebounds have been pretty consistent this year. The free throws have been inconsistent. The field goal percentage is inconsistent. Do you think it's a case of why does he make your list? Is he just a case of a guy that needs to have his home, or is this what his history is available? Picking him up from free agency, dropping him off from free agency, and people not touching this guy. What is his destiny in fantasy basketball?
I mean, I always just try and pick up guys around this time too, even if the chance of them moving is slim to none, just because they're absolutely massive per minute producers. So your names like Obi Toppin, your names like Smith, over in Chicago, they've just picked up another center instead of got rid of one. So who knows what's going to go on there. But these are guys who play less than 20 minutes a night, who can play more. They're not being hampered by injury or anything like that. They've got legs. But yeah, just it's a bit forbidden fruity. You can just see what they could become even if they got to 25 minutes consistently from whatever he's averaging, like 16, 17 or something like that. But ignoring that game where he didn't take a shot at all and got 1 point off a free throw, the next one he went 8 of 11. He's a guy when he gets hot, he gets hot. And he's got it. It's ugly, but he's got an all right jumper. And I mean, he's obviously wildly explosive. Just watching that last game, the game that he went 8 of 11 for, there was a time where what's their hopeless center they're rolling out at the moment? Their backup center who's been floating around the league, bit of a journeyman.
For the Pacers?
No, whatever his name. Yeah. Who's playing behind Miles at the moment?
Oh, Pascal Siakam?
Nah, he's playing power forward. But anyway, whatever his name is, he just got in the road in the lane, and then he had to skedaddle because he realised that he wasn't going to become a
Oh,
passing
wait.
option.
You're not meaning Thomas Bryant?
Yeah, Thomas Bryant. Thank you,
I
Thomas
don't call
Bryant.
him. Sorry. Okay. I was like, I don't call him a real basketball player, though. So I'm like, he's been around for a long time. I'm like, the guy's probably like only 23 years old, but he just feels like he's been around forever.
I think, there's people I shouldn't forget their names, and it's inexcusable. And then there's Thomas Bryant. So, that one was legitimate. If I don't remember him, that's I think I get a pass on that one. But yeah, just
You
it
do.
was just a funny thing to watch as he came. He thought that Obi was going to pass him the ball for a dunk, and he's like, oh my god, Obi's not stopping. He's going to like take off from the free throw line, and just he did. And Thomas Bryant just slunk away and pretended to like give him a little thumbs up, like that was the plan. Look at me clearing out for you.
It's like, shit,
anyway.
oh shit, running away as far as you possibly can.
I'm holding Obi, and I'm holding Smith just to see what happens with them, because if anything opens up where they are, or if anything opens up and they get moved somewhere else, it'd be great, and you'd be kicking yourself if you didn't have them.
Talking about opening up, Yusuf Nurkic. Can we just open up on our feelings? Can we get Yusuf on the pod just to open up a little bit about how he feels about this situation? And you can see why he has even dropped down. He is 65% rostered, which is still crazy to think that he has been the stashes with all the injuries in the NBA. I mean, like, this is nuts to think that, you look at these 0 games for him. He has now been out since coming back in from injury, getting benched down to 14 and 19 minutes. But this is why you get fucking just sucked in by the motherfucker. Because you can see these 14 and 19 minutes. You wait a second. He played 14 minutes. He got 5.7 rebounds and 1 assist. He's still one of the best passing big men around, to be fair. Like, he had a great game. He had a great season last year. And this is a tale of Yusuf Nurkic. Like, you either love him or you hate him. This is now a low. He has been declining in points. He's been flirting around it, but he's been flirting with double-doubles the last couple of years. Still the same this year when getting the minutes. But can we just go back 5, 6, 7 years ago, whenever it was that we first traded to Portland now, when there was a real conversation in the NBA at the Denver Nuggets with, should we trade Yusuf or should we trade Jokic? Oh, let's keep Jokic and let's move off Nurkic. This guy has value. He's down another 1% in the last day. I'm assuming, I don't know why you drop him now if you've held on to him for dear bloody life, Malley. Like, that just seems stupid at this point.
Yeah, it's a weird move.
But this is a guy who could probably really come in, get you some double-doubles real quickly. This is probably one of the biggest stashes you can have in fantasy.
I think as well, you look at guys and you think, I don't want to take anyone whose situation's going to get worse. And you can't say that about Yusuf. Like, you can't go into negative minutes. The worst thing he could do for the Phoenix Suns, I guess, is start playing on the other team and, shooting in the wrong hoop. But, I think, as you said, if you've held him for this long, which a lot of people have, you might as well hold him another week, see what happens. There's teams who want bigs out in the league. He's obviously, the health seems good or good enough. Not as good as last year, but better than the year before. Just hold him, see what happens. If he's sitting there, why not pick him up? Why not? Depending on where you're sitting in the standings, of course. You might not have time for such tomfoolery.
Now, that pretty much does all of your guys, apart from one, Brandon Podziemski. The Warriors they were in the mix for Levine and Vucevic. They wanted both of them initially. Then it came out that they pivoted. It seems that the talks between the Warriors and the Heat have stalled as of last reports this afternoon before offices closed over in the US. He is still the guy in the Warriors that you see is the prime trade and move candidate here, mate.
Yeah, or more the fact that other pieces might move around him. The problem is Steve Kerr's got too many guys and he keeps giving them all like moderate minutes. And if they can move some guys out of there and just clear a bit of space for him, we've seen over the last couple of games since he came back from his injury what he can do. Obviously, things aren't really peachy in Golden State. He's a young asset who they seem to want to hold on to. Just be interesting to see. He's another guy, just what he can do. Whether he gets moved, that seems less likely, but hopefully they can just clear out a bit of trash around him and just give him a bit more space and some more minutes on the roster. and not let Kerr play 17 guys per game, at a 13-minute clip. So, yeah, something about him. And he's just, I think it was on the ESPN report the other day. They were saying that in the second half of whatever game they were playing where they were down, it was reported that whoever wrote the article was like, he looked like he was the only guy out there who was actually like wanting to win. Yep. And I feel like that's probably true of the guy. Like he wants to win when everyone else is like, okay, we're folding. He was like, no, like I've got game. Let's go.
And I also think that this guy's a rookie last year. He's come into his second year. We expected him to step up in the absence of Klay Thompson. And he's been delivering that of late. Now, you look at him in the last couple of weeks, he has shot up in the rankings. In the last month, he's been 52nd by the Yahoo metrics. Let's not give them everything. But this is still a guy who's giving you across the board with 100% from the free throw line, plus 500 from the field. And it's crazy to think that this is him. Because if you look at his season stats average, he has gone up. He's suffering efficiency. He's actually down on the year to 429, but his last month he's been at 558. So there's been something in the water for him. If you look at his game log as well, especially these last ones with these out from the injuries, he comes in, he plays his role. I think he loves it in Golden State, and he doesn't want to be the guy. He's like, could you not just shift off bloody Kuminga? Could you not just get Moses out of here? Like, I like being here. I want to win for Steve. I want to win for Steph. Like,
knows they don't need Dennis Schroeder.
Can you just get them the fuck out of here and keep me? I like the weather. Clay told me about the boating in the region. I'd like to boat more. And he just seems to, and he is dedicated, and he's having an absolutely fantastic run. And the fact that he is still on waiver wires now, it makes him a must-add player for me, even in the short term, whether he has moved or not. You need to bring Brandon Podziemski into it. I'm going to hit you with my guys. I said in our must-adds pod that we're going to cap this show at around 20 minutes. I'm going to fly through some dudes real quickly. And there was one team that I said that I thought we could get some value out of, Malley, that if they make any significant moves, and this is one of the guys, you were all down on John Collins for this year for certain reasons. You were like, no, because tanking, blah, blah. And yeah, he's missed a whole bunch of games. He's like, you're playing too well. Your knee's hurt and you've got some family issues in Wisconsin. You're gone. But if the Jazz do trade him, and if the Jazz do trade Colin Sexton, which is the rumor, and they do rest Lauri Markkanen, keep your eyes on the Utah Jazz, because they could literally roll out a starting five of Isaiah Collier, who has made his way into the starting five recently, Keontae George, who has been there, Bryce Sensabaugh, who is filling in the shoes pretty well this year for Taylor Hendricks after he went down, and that's what John Collins has stepped up to as well. Cody Williams and Kyle Filipowski literally could run out a starting five of all first and second year kind of young blokes running out there and just tank hard, especially if they do like this alleged Walker Kessler trade, which I don't see how they do it now. This could very well be a thing. So straight away, I'm just keeping my eyes out for anything, because the Utah Jazz, let it be said for me, and this is why they're a trade stash team, they dabbled their feet into that Los Angeles Lakers and Dallas Mavericks trade. They're just involving themselves in talks and around. Now, this is the thing you want to keep really abreast of on trade deadline week. You want to see the teams that are trying to acquire picks early on. And that's an interesting cue for who they can move for the players. That goes double right now for the guys like the Utah Jazz, because they've already dabbled in the biggest trade in NBA history as far as I'm concerned. So we want to get to these guys. My other stash targets is this the big one, because I don't think I'm talking out of turn right here with Noah Clowney and Ziaire Williams. I've already mentioned Ziaire Williams on our must-adds pod. These guys have been right up there as well as Jalen Wilson over in Brooklyn, all guys who I am watching right now. I've also just picked up Cam Thomas off the waiver wire in a deep 200-person league. In one of the ball page leagues, Malley, in Champions League, Cam Thomas was dropped. Now, I can lose a week knowing that the next coming week is a two-week week. Just keep your eyes on the waiver wire for guys dropping off like that, like Cam Thomas or Cam Johnson, because Cam Johnson is a guy who's injured right now and has been dropped in many deep leagues and people who haven't. So you want to put Cam Johnson on your waiver wire. And these are the guys we've been picking up instead. I've got Bruce Brown because I think he has been absolutely fantastic for Toronto after returning from his injury, but I also think they're managing him somewhat because I think that he is a veteran that they move out of that team for some younger talent or for some draft capital. Robert Williams III from Portland, obviously opening up those Klingon minutes. And I did want to touch on this guy right here. We hear about the Dallas Mavericks quite a lot. And I know the guy who owns this, and you're going to see this one. This is in my friends and family league, in our league for Insight. And look who owns him. Matrix Reloaded. Santi Aldama. Of course he does, because he's a Memphis Grizzly. But we have heard a lot of talk about the Memphis Grizzlies getting their trade beak wet around the trade deadline. And I think one of the guys in there, apart from Jake LaRavia, I'm going to throw Jake LaRavia's name out there because he's going to be a beneficiary one way or the other. So if Santi Aldama goes, I think LaRavia gets some minutes. I think he's on there. Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams, all these other guys get some burn. But look what he did today. This guy came out of here, and I actually just tied a week 5-5-1 because Santi Aldama decided to pass the ball, I think, 3 times in the final quarter. An excellent game for Santi. I was like, literally, it ended up tied on assists, which I just think is nuts because I was going into it. I had Eric Gordon go out for the day. We tied it back on turnovers. I was confused like all bloody Mary hell. And we ended up going 5-5-1 because at the last minute, Santi Aldama hit 3 assists for the first time since, there you go, the 13th of January in 3 weeks. So I think Santi Aldama is one of those guys who, when you look at Santi Aldama, you're like, yep, done. Could do that. Could go Santi. Put him into your trade. And I reckon he's a nice little stash there as well. Malley, anyone else you want to add before we get out of here, mate?
I mean, you could nearly add anyone, couldn't you? Because you really don't know what's going to happen. But we've used our best logic. We've had some reasoning behind the decisions we've made. And, we'll see what comes about from it.
100%. Guys, make sure you like and subscribe to all the things. We will do a trade deadline wrap-up show on the weekend. It's going to be a bunch of fun. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe to All Things Insight. We'll see you soon.